So a lot of limestone that we've got present in this area. And also some dead trees. Now that's something, yeah, you would expect, but we don't see a lot of, at least thus far. I haven't seen a lot of dead trees. Well, hello there all you absolutely magnificent people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays. We talk about nature while playing games. We are back in StarRupture again, and we are again awaiting the Ruptura event, which will happen shortly. But while we're waiting for that to happen, just a quick update. As you can see here, we are busy leveling up Griffith's Blue Corporation and Clever Robotics, and in order to actually level up Griffith's Blue Corporation here, I have unlocked titanium housing. I've also unlocked the furnace, so I've done a bit of stuff off screen because, well, we are here to focus on nature as the wave is about to occur once more. Oh man, love it. Now the reason I waited for the Ruptura to actually happen before starting to record this episode is because we want to go do something as soon as we can do it after the Ruptura event has occurred. And there we go, it's going to happen very, very shortly. And there we go. And voila, oh man, still, this is just such an awesome sight. Now the reason I want to level up Griffith's Blue Corporation here is so that we can get more war bonds, and if we get more war bonds, we can actually unlock another weapon. And we'll hopefully do that as soon as we can. Now I want to also unlock the wind turbine here with the Moon Energy Corporation. However, they require the rotor, and we cannot yet unlock the rotor. If we have a look here in the fabricator, you'll see that the rotor here requires the blueprint, and we don't have that, but I think I know where to find it. If we go to the northwest, there should be an abandoned base there. I think it is the Selenium Corporation base there, and if we head there, we may be able to actually get the rotor blueprint. So let's head on out, yeah, in that direction. I really have very little on me at the moment, but that's fine. We're traveling light here. We are photons. We are traveling light. And there we go. That's my dad joke for the day. But ping. Now it does look as though there are ruins to that side. I think that is where we should actually be heading. We're going to ignore the ignition. We're going to ignore everything because we want to get there before the vermin, before the little critters start spawning again. So let's see if we can make it. Right, indeed, we have located the site. Now it is all a matter of finding what we're looking for. Apparently there are some corpses here. There's one to my left here. There we go. What have you got? A few things. Not quite what we're looking for. I think we need to get up there somehow. Yeah, it looks like this is the way. Yes, indeed. We got some war bonds there. That is nice. That is very, very nice.
A few moments later.
Now at the top there was in fact a little chest that I did loot, and inside there we did find what we were looking for. We found the rotor as well as the tube blueprint. Now I'm going to run back home because, well, I don't want to stay here too long. Just gonna grab that rubble pile there and off we go before all the little vermin start spawning, because remember, during the Ruptura, they are trying to remain safe. They are trying to avoid being scorched to death. And the way they do that is most likely by either heading into caves or simply burrowing into the soil, as we have seen them emerging from the soil after the Ruptura event. But we managed to actually do that one, and that is marvelous. Now, of course, this is the best way to actually try and get all the blueprints, visit those little ruins directly after the Ruptura event, because, well, that is the one time there are no vermin around. So, yay! Super, super glad about that. Oh, there's another little corpse here. Just gonna grab the war bonds and stuff on that dude. It's not like they're needing it anymore. Alright, and of course, now we can actually place the blueprints of both the rotor and the tube over there. Now all we need to do is we need to actually put in the rest of the materials. So for both of these, I'm just going to insert the data points there, the 400 and the 600 I think it was. And now we just need a lot of titanium rods and a lot of Wolfram wires. So just so you know what I have now done, I have actually switched over from creating the ingredients that are necessary to make the titanium housing, which would be the titanium beams and titanium sheets. I've taken these fabricators here and I've switched them over to creating titanium rods, because titanium rods are what we need in order to actually unlock the rotor. Now the thing is that I don't really need to make the titanium housing at the moment anymore, because we have got enough points to just level up our standing with the Griffith's Blue Corporation. So we're just going to level that up and we're going to claim the 60 war bonds here. And now we can come over to our equipment upgrade station. And we're going to unlock the modular assault rifle. That is what we're going to unlock. This is just a step up from the pistol that we've had. So I'm going to choose this, and there we go. Now all we need would be some ammo. Luckily, it's just the standard ammo over here, which just requires some... Oh, it requires Wolfram powder. Well, now that is something we don't actually have yet. But aha, it can actually be crafted here in the furnace, which is marvelous news for us. We just need some Wolfram bars, and we can actually do that. That is great news. And there we go.
A few moments later.
Alright, I have made a whole bunch of Wolfram powder here, so we can actually make quite a lot of ammunition. But you know what? I think we are ready to do something. Something I have not yet done, and that is to head as far north as we possibly can. So heading in that direction, or more or less, yeah, somewhere in that direction, that is where we'll be heading. We've got some nice armaments here. We've got our pistol here, and we have got our assault rifle, which is marvelous. And of course, for the little guys, we have our mining gun as well. As we are running around here, we actually encounter things like this plant over here, which is almost certain, if it is based on plants on Earth, this definitely belongs to the carrot family, to the Caryophyllaceae. You can see this little umbrella inflorescence here. Inflorescence just being a whole bunch of flowers clustered together. And you very often find this umbel or umbrella inflorescence with the plants in the carrot family. In fact, in our garden we have a whole bunch of carrot growing, and honestly we haven't really eaten a lot of carrots from our garden. The majority of the carrots growing in our garden are simply for the flowers, because the insects absolutely love it. It attracts a whole bunch of pollinators. So that is why we actually grow a lot of carrots in our garden, and I'm sure at some point I will actually put up a little video of that on the channel, a little short of that, just to show you the amazing diversity of species you can get just by growing carrots for their flowers rather than the roots. Of course, the fact that it has edible roots, just an added bonus, and I do love snacking on a carrot from the garden, but honestly we have rarely actually eaten the carrots growing in our garden. The majority of the time we're just great for the flowers. Now we're just going to make our way past this ruin over here. We were here previously. We're just going to avoid that for now. Almost certainly we'll have a whole bunch of critters or vermin swarming that base over there. We're just going to keep on running past it. I don't think we've actually... No, we haven't explored to the north here. In fact, I don't even think I have in another game of mine previously even explored this far north. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what we find just across the ridge here. I think this is about as far north as we could basically have gone in the co-op open beta version we could play during December. Oh, there we go. We've got some critters coming from that side, so we're just going to mine and go boom. And with the pistol, just going to end them as best we can. Okay, and then we've got the little spitters over there. Oh, I do love this assault rifle. Okay, it is quite alright. It's quite good against the critters. Oh yeah, very good against these critters. A very nice rapid fire that it does. Of course, there we go, the spitter biofact. So yeah, these guys are basically the spitter vermin, I guess you could call them. Or a nice bunch of pricklers over here. Remember, again, we're not harvesting all the plants. We are just selecting a few here and there, keeping the majority of these to actually seed, and that will then hopefully, at least in theory, allow them to germinate and establish after the next Ruptura event. Now, let's see, what have we got here? We do have a bit of water down there and a lot of calcium, it seems. So a lot of limestone that we've got present in this area. And also some dead trees. Now that's something, yeah, you would expect, but we don't see a lot of, at least thus far. I haven't seen a lot of dead trees. I think we are under attack again. Not sure from where. I hear you. There we go. Hello there, little ones. Alright, I think that worked out quite well. I think that was everybody. But yeah, with the high frequency of the Ruptura events on the planet here, I would really expect there to be a lot more dead trees, yet we rarely actually encounter them. Yes, there's one here, there are a few actually around here, and there are some over there as well. Perhaps these trees were growing during a wetter period or a period of time when the Ruptura were not as frequent. allowing them to actually survive. And then when the ruptura became more frequent, well, they just couldn't handle that and they died. It's something we do see in nature as well. We have what we call the intermediate disturbance hypothesis, which basically says that if there's a high frequency of disturbance, you actually would have very few species surviving, and if there's no disturbance or very few disturbances, you also have a lower diversity of species surviving in an area. The reason being that if you have no disturbance whatsoever, some species will simply outcompete the others. But if you have too frequent disturbances, very few species are able to survive those irregular disturbances. I think it's right over there. We go. Got rid of that spitter there. I do think there is another exploder over here, somewhere behind these rocks. Let's just check. Didn't see one, but I think we are still under attack by something. I hear you. Oh, there we go. There he is. There we go. There she blows. Anyway, back to the intermediate disturbance hypothesis. If you have no disturbances in an area, some species thrive under those conditions, and it allows them to actually outcompete other plants. Oh, we've got another serpent root here. May as well grab some here and there again. Now, if some species do extremely well and they outcompete other species, you have a loss of biodiversity. Some species just then disappear from that area. Oh, we've got some more radiation up ahead, which we will not be able to head into, but let's see how close we can get to it. So, no disturbance or low disturbance, relatively low diversity. But if you have too frequent disturbances, very few species can handle those high levels of disturbance. And again, you have a loss of species. The species that can't handle the high disturbance regime, they disappear. And again, you've got a loss of biodiversity. So intermediate disturbance hypothesis basically then says that, well, if you have a moderate level of disturbance, you don't have any one species or group of species outcompeting the other ones, because every time they get more common, there is another disturbance that just happens and knocks them back again. So they don't have the opportunity to get so abundant that they actually start outcompeting other species. And it allows those other species to actually persist in the area still. But those disturbances are not so frequent that it actually results in some species disappearing from the environment. So it's frequent, but not too frequent. And that is the intermediate disturbance hypothesis. And that is just absolutely awesome. It is one of my favorite ecological hypotheses. Oh, there's a whole bunch of little perp plants over here. We're just going to grab, I think, 3 of the 6 that are there. Here we go. 7 actually. So just under half of the ones we grabbed there. But yeah, intermediate disturbance hypothesis. And what you can see here, a nice little spot for us to potentially, at some point, put up a helium extractor. We are again under attack. There we go. I was just about to say, not sure from where, but apparently from there. Oh, wow. Okay. It is time to break out the big guns. And there we go. Just firing. And pistol. There we go. And assault rifle again. Just have to keep an eye on the spitter up there. There is a spitter, there we go. But it is done. But I have just noticed something very, very interesting. Yes, we have seen some dead trees, but look what we see right over there. So many living trees. I don't think I've ever actually been to this habitat up here. So this will be very, very interesting to actually observe from close by. Okay, so there isn't actually radiation over here. I really thought the green glow we saw was radiation, but it turns out no. There is no radiation. We do have Wolfram over here, and apparently we are under attack again. Was a spitter. Now the spitters do seem to be quite common around the Wolfram areas. I have very often actually found spitters in these areas, so there must be some benefit to staying in the areas where Wolfram is actually present. I'm not sure whether they perhaps use it in some kind of chemical reaction and then make the corrosive chemicals that they spray at us, that they spit at us, actually make that with Wolfram in it. Somehow I doubt it. I would actually expect them more in areas with things like arsenic in it perhaps, and then use the arsenic in the venomous compound, because, you know, why not? But maybe the Wolfram actually is incorporated into their tissue and actually gives them a bit of strength. Similar to some of the gastropods we find in deep sea vents, which will use some of the metals in the deep sea vents there to actually strengthen their own armor. Oh, there's a spitter, or there was one. Oh, hello. Another slasher. There was another slasher. Okay. Great stuff, great stuff, great stuff. Now, what was I talking about? Oh yes, the gastropods and the deep sea vents that actually include iron and sulfides into their tissue. Well, basically scales on their tissue. Basically, I think it's called the scaly-footed gastropod, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a really, really awesome little snail living on deep sea vents. But look at this. We've basically got a piece of savanna habitat over here. In fact, we could actually hear a bit of chirping there in the background. Very reminiscent of, not crickets per se, but perhaps cicadas living over here. So I'm wondering whether these little grubblers we have on the trees here, they are larvae. I'm wondering whether they aren't perhaps the larvae of some kind of cicada-like insect, invertebrate living on these trees. Anyway, we grabbed one. There are some more grubblers right over there as well. We're going to leave those ones so they can continue their life cycle and hopefully complete it as well. But I mean, look at these trees. It's also very interesting. All the trees are kind of pointing in that direction, most likely because, well, if we look at what is on the other side of them, the sun is right over there. So whenever there is a ruptura event, there's this massive fireball basically blasting from this side. And I think the bark on this side, very, very tough, and it kind of absorbs a lot of the shock of that blast there. And the finer branches are located on the other side, away from the sun. So that when the blast actually happens, the tree is relatively fine. Of course, with a thick bark there, it allows them to actually regenerate after the ruptura event. Again, we are under attack. Just the normal little worker vermin. The mini ones. There was a slasher, but it is dead, of course. And another one. And another one. But yeah, I think that was it. And then we also have a field of this slow fern or fire fern, whatever they're called. I like calling them fire fern, but slow fern is also such a nice name for these orangish plants. But overall, this generally I would classify as a savanna ecosystem. This is not an arid shrubland, this is not a desert. This is a mixture of trees and grasses, or tree-like plants at least, and grass-like plants, which is then a savanna ecosystem. But it's very interesting that it is nestled just in this valley region over here. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why is it located here? Perhaps the temperature is just right. Maybe the lower lying areas in the winter months, if there are even winter months, maybe during that period then it is very cold in the lower lying areas and frost occurs. Frost will tend to kill trees. But then again also, fire will also kill trees, or tree seedlings at least. And I mean, the ruptura is basically a massive fireball hitting the area. So the earthen rules are not necessarily followed on the planet over here. But I think the main reason why we actually have got the trees here, or the savanna ecosystem here, is because there may be some underground water here. Maybe the rocks are nice and porous, and there is this nice storage of water underground. These trees here most likely established during wetter period in the history of this planet, and now with their deeper roots that are firmly embedded into the soil, into deep parts of the soil, they're able to access the deeper water, the groundwater, and now they're able to persist. But we don't see any seedlings because, well, currently we are not in a wet period on this planet. I mean, we haven't seen rain, we just have had the blasting of the sun here. Let's just see, we again are under attack. There we go, exploder and slasher as well. There's some more exploders and spitters as well. Oh dear, those are a lot of critters. Let's just run out into the open. Take out as many as we can. There we go, there's a spitter inflating its throat sac to actually then spit the venomous compound at us. There we go. I must say, the little critters are very, very well done. And also the music. Let us not forget the music here, because you know when you are under attack. There we go, right on cue. Now, we have not yet encountered the really big guys. As far as I know, there are Goliaths as well, which are very crab-like in appearance. But they are really the warrior caste of the critters, of the vermin. So if we wanted to, we could do the geoscanner here. I don't think we're going to do that. We are outgunned at the moment. We are really outmatched at the moment. If we have a whole bunch of critters swarming us while trying to defend this, yeah, I don't think we would be able to defend it. So we're not going to do that now. There we go. I knew there was a spitter somewhere. I saw a bit of flash of green earlier. And well, there indeed. You can see the throat sac there. Whole bunch. It's very, very interesting little texture there. But that is able to inflate quite a bit to then contract again and actually shoot out a little venomous projectile at us. Now you can see here this pulsing blue on the geoscanner here. That's left behind by the exploders. And I'm not sure whether it's an egg sac or just a protective measure. Wonder if we shoot it, does it explode? No, it doesn't explode. So it's probably not protective. It is probably either a way to actually reproduce, or what could actually very well be the case, it could be a form of scent marking. Because surely we don't just have one colony of vermin or critters on this planet. There are most likely a whole bunch of colonies, technically at least. We can't enter them yet, but I'm sure there are a whole bunch of colonies scattered in the landscape here. And they most likely, similar to termites and ants, are territorial. And what better way to mark your territory than on some kind of landmark like the geoscanner there. Put a sticky globule that most likely has pheromones in it and is a way for them to communicate with other colonies, indicating that, listen, this is our patch of land. Go away. I almost said something else, but go away. Leave it behind. You didn't lose anything here. There's nothing for you here except death. But while we have a bit of a break, let's just check here. Yeah, indeed, we are quite thirsty. We can eat the hydrobulbs here. Hydrobulbs so called because, well, they store water in little bulbous organs. And we can eat some polyfruit here. And you know what? Let us actually eat a prickler as well. Some pricklers. There we go. Let's eat 2 pricklers. 3 pricklers. 4 pricklers. There we go. Now we are A4 away, 100%. But you know what? I think that's actually a good spot to end today's episode. So thank you very much everyone for joining me on our adventure over here as we've explored a new area. We haven't seen previously the savanna biome over there. Well, kind of a savanna biome over there. Of course, if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to know more about, please pop it down in the comments below and I'll be happy to discuss it. I also have a Discord channel for those of you that want to join me there. And if you've got any ecology questions, you're also, of course, welcome to come and ask me there. On Friday, I'll be back with a bit more of Enshrouded. And then next Tuesday again, back in StarRupture. So until next time, everybody, stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Cheers!